regular meeting of the Clark County Council for February 12th, 2024. Would you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Doug Benfield, will you read this please tonight?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have proof of publication?
Yes, we do, but it's not sure if I heard. So.
Thank you very much. Approval of the January minutes.
Motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Doherty with a second from Councilperson Abbott to approve the January 8th, 2024 council minutes as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Are there any amendments to the agenda other than what is attached? Can we get an approval of the agenda with the amendments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Bissing with a second from Councilperson Grooms to approve the agenda with the amendments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Acknowledge receipt of funds report.
Acknowledge. Second.
Motion by Councilperson Doherty with a second from Councilperson Miller to acknowledge receipt of funds report. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Are there any committee reports at this time? Public comments, we have,
I do have a committee comment.
okay, sorry.
The 911 operations finally moved into their new building out of River Ridge. Or the building was completed kind of in the second quarter of last year, and then right before operations were to move into the building, they had a major water leak. So they had to go through months of remediation, so the new facility is up in operation out of River Ridge.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. In public comments, we have Caitlin Blessett. Blessett?
Blessed.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, if you'd state your name for the record so that we can hear it.
Caitlin Blessed. I've never been here to this meeting before, so.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. I just have two short comments, a request. I'm requesting, and as I've requested from the commissioners as well, I would really like to see these meetings live streamed or video recorded in some way. I really like the room and the acoustics in here, and I think a sound system was maybe upgraded or a speaker was approved at the last meeting. But I think it'd be great if you all could record these meetings so that people who cannot attend can view it later. I'm recording this one until you all get something in place so that we can get it out to additional people. So I'd like to put that request in, and I appreciate the time being 6 o'clock. That's better than 5 o'clock for a lot of us. And then the only other comment that I have at this time, I've got a lot of documents to look through that we requested. I'm pretty shocked to see some of the salaries of the sheriff department. I think Scotty Maples' salary went up quite a bit, and as I understand, I think you all approved those salaries, right, for the sheriff's department?
That is correct.
Okay, so I think it's roughly $184,000, up from I think $170,000 last year. And I'm from Louisville, and I know that the sheriff over there, Sheriff Aubrey, who's been in the position forever, because there are no term limits over there. I think he was at $150,000. So we're talking about a much bigger county, bigger crime rate, things like that. So I would just like you all to, maybe at some other time, maybe I can email a few of you to find out how you all come to those numbers, because they seem very, very excessive for a sheriff in his first term. So I'd like to express a little bit of disappointment and not understanding why the salaries are so high compared to some larger counties. And that's all I have tonight.
I think I can answer your question.
Sure.
I believe it's population, isn't it?
No.
Correct?
I think, are you looking it up, Max? The actual-
That's what I just told him to look up, because I think it's based on state
It
statute,
is state statute.
and I think it's,
Okay.
Certain percentage of the prosecutor.
what's that?
It's a certain percentage of the prosecutor.
Exactly, yeah, but it's depending on the size of the county, I think. The percentage of the prosecutor rate changes based on the size of the county.
The fact is, it's
I think that's partly right.
In other words, we don't have very much control.
Okay, I was wondering about that.
But that's actually what I just asked him to do, is look that up real quick.
Okay, are you able to tell me, do you approve other parts of the budget, like other salaries for the sheriff's department?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we
This
do.
is your first meeting, isn't it?
Yeah.
We do, I didn't.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, I just bring that
that's
up
a lot of
because-
our,
Sure, his wife Morgan Maples, jumped up significantly as well, so, I don't think that's a great look for a sheriff in their first year to have, his wife also jump up so significantly. So I think with everything going on in Clark County, we just need to be careful about what conflicts of interest look like.
But I think the answer to that change in, pay from 23 to 24 was she changed positions.
Okay,
And salaries are set for a position, not a person.
okay.
So,
I was looking at other,
The
positions
salary-
in Matron, and it didn't look like they were as high as hers. But I could be
well,
wrong.
we only have one matron position in the county jail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so-
Last year, were there one or two?
No, there's only one.
One at a time? Okay, okay.
We also have to be competitive with other local police departments. The last 2 years, we've had to raise to attract people to come and work for us.
Mm-hmm,
That's why we give raises in a lot of cases.
okay.
well, especially in the sheriff's department, they would get hired in and we would spend the money to send them for training and they'd get on the job and then the other local units of government would hire them away from us because we spent all the money training them. Then they take advantage because their starting pay is higher.
Sure.
So it's a competition in order to keep our good employees.
Yeah, I certainly commend any, competitiveness in salaries and things like that. I just wanna make sure that they're in line, that they're reasonable.
Very legitimate questions, very legitimate.
Clark County is usually at the bottom when it comes to paying police. We're usually one of the lowest in the county of all the cities in the county.
Did you say police officers?
Yeah, police
Yes.
officers.
Oh, okay, not necessarily sheriff's deputies, but police officers.
Well,
It's the same thing for
same
county
thing.
government.
Oh, okay,
We don't have a police department, we have a sheriff department.
right.
So our sheriff deputies are our police
Police.
officers.
That's what you mean, okay.
Yeah,
Cause
that's
I also
their-
go to Jeffersonville Council, so it's, yeah,
Yes.
trying to understand where the lines are. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for your interest, and I know we've been talking about having live recordings that's been being looked into. We do have a camera installed, we just don't have all the networking and servers and what, I don't know, that's above my head. All of that technical stuff, yeah. We'll let him look, and if he finds the answer, when he can read it, then we'll just go on then. Are there any other public comments that didn't sign up? Clark County Commissioners? Brian Glover?
Good evening, Brian Glover, on behalf of the Clark County Commissioners and Leanne Howe, Director of Human Resources here for Clark County. And Ms. Blissett has made her concerns known to the commissioners in our previous meeting about streaming the meetings. And we're working on the sound system first because in some of our public meetings in the past, you couldn't hear what you said in the back of the room. So we are fixing that, have worked on it. I think we have an amplifier being installed shortly. And then next we'll take over the streaming services. I know statute says by next year they have to be installed. I don't know what that date is, but we're working on it, and Ms. Blessett has made that very well known to the commissioners in the past, so just want to make a note there. Tonight before you, you do have a couple of requests before you tonight. You have an additional appropriation for enhanced GIS services. This is a contract with Snyder Flex Support, which covers 96 hours in the amount of $14,016. You have a additional appropriation from the TIP Memphis corridor This was the balance of the structure point contract. If you remember, this sounds like Groundhog Day. You all approved this in December, but the payment didn't go out, so we've got to go for that additional appropriation in 2024. Didn't make it out of 2023. There was a judgment bond, additional appropriation, increase in cost management from Bank of New York Mellon for 3 different situations. One for the judgment bond payment, one for the 2010 building fund, and one for the 2019 general obligation fund. All of those are for $75, just an increase in cost. Next up is the, general obligation refunding bond 2023, landfill additional appropriation. One is $400,000 in principal, one is $135,105.83 in interest. The next is the general obligation bond 2023 landfill additional appropriation. This is an interest payment of $130,189.58. And then the riverboat additional appropriation, contract services additional appropriation for $47,300. That's for the LAO system, which Ms. Howe is here tonight to answer any questions you may have on that. I think we spoke about it, was it in November? No, it was in December and January, we spoke about that, about the the payroll system. And then the next additional appropriation for, information technology contract services is for $14,400. I will note that the $47,300 is a one-time initial payment to set it up. The $14,400 is for 12 months of, what was it, $12 per person per month?
No, it's actually the one-time implementation includes the setup fees, the building of the systems, the setup of all the user accounts, which is, a user is basically a manager. After that, we have, it's $5 a month for an employee.
Per employee. And that $14,400, we believe will get us through the year. That could fluctuate depending on number of employees that we have or lose over the next year, correct?
That is correct. I see that it gets us through the next year. We did some math, but, you know, the normal attrition and headcount increases, absolutely. But the 47,000 will not change, depending. The courts can come on, basically our whole entity could join this system, and that amount will not change.
So there's a lot there before you tonight. I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Not so much interest on those bonds.
That's just the bond rate. The 2023, refunding bond, that was to pay off the 2011, 2013 landfill bonds. When we refinanced those, we got the new 2023 bonds to pay for the very well. That was to pay that off, and then the additional appropriation for the interest was $130,000 and change. That's just the interest rate of the bond.
It's probably for the full year, interest for the full year.
And keep in mind, these are paying, these are, revenue bonds that are paid for from the revenue of the landfill. These are not county general funds.
And if it's a 2023 land bond, then we're on the very front end of that amortization schedule where the interest is higher and then it'll go down as you get further away. So being that it's a 23, we're on the very, very front end of that amortization schedule.
That's right.
Commissioner Glover, excuse me, how many bond payments are due each year for the landfill?
There's only one bond payment due per year, and that is through 2038 or 2040, I believe.
I probably should know this, but I don't. What is the participation by Floyd County in this? Do they also pay part of this bond?
No, keep in mind, Councilman, that this money is revenue generated from the landfill. The landfill brings us a check for that bond payment, and we just turn around and process it through and make that payment on their behalf.
The landfill operator.
I'm sorry, yes, the landfill operator. Yeah, thank you for that clarification, yes.
But if the check comes from
The landfill
government,
operator.
we have to appropriate it,
Right.
no matter where the funds come from.
I'll make a motion to approve the additional appropriation 4964, 4503, 4610, 4607, 4619, additional appropriations in 4624, 4623, and 1191, and 4930.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Ledford, And a second from Councilperson Bissing to approve the appropriations as requested by the commissioners and repeated by Councilperson Langford. Any further discussion, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That is,
Drainage.
drainage.
Drainage, okay.
Jack Kaufman, Clark County Commissioner and President of the Drainage Board. This is pretty much self-explanatory. This is a request for additional appropriation, out of the general fund, location 0266, is the Drainage Board location. And what this is, if you see there in the explanation that was sent to you all, we gave you a list of invoices. These were invoices that we received late in the year and could not have been paid out of 2023 budget, so they had to be paid out of 2024 budget, so that's why we had to do an additional appropriation for 2024. So basically, we're not gonna get much of these invoices.
Motion for the additional appropriation of Fund 1,000 for $6,616.73.
Second.
Motion from Councilperson Langford with a second from Councilperson Doherty to approve the additional appropriation for contract services in the amount of $6,616.73 in the general fund for the drainage department. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Clark County Surveyor.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Dave Ruckman. I am the president of Clark County Surveyor, and I'm here on behalf of our new employee, the man I got to hire as our first deputy due to the vacation of the death of our existing first deputy. And the salary that he and I agreed on, which is $45,000. There is a difference between what the base salary is and what he and I agreed on. The money difference will come out of the second fund perpetuation fund, which is a fee-based fund, does not affect your budget. That's what you're asking you to approve, that salary for this year.
Do we have any motions or discussion?
Move that the additional appropriation be approved.
Second.
It's the salary ordinance.
I'm sorry. Yes.
I have a motion from Councilperson Grooms with a second from Councilperson Abbott to approve the salary ordinance in the perpetuation fund for the deputy surveyor in the amount of $9,294.77. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1 with Councilperson Langford in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clark County Sheriff, this has been,
Yeah, I called Diane Shree on this one, and we put drugs and medical budget for the jail in Lowett, and she received a rebate from the company that does x-rays of inmates, and that check was, every check has been in county general, so she wanted this reappropriated out of county general. I said, well, that's gonna create drugs and medical budget in county general and Lowett, so hold off on this. If you do need this additional appropriation before the end of the year, come back to us, but do it out of Lowett, so withdraw it out as county general. So we may end up getting something from her later on, but it'll be out of Lowett.
so it is withdrawn for this meeting.
Correct.
Clark County Health Department, Dr. Benfield.
Good evening, Council. Dr. Phil,
Good evening.
Just a couple things this evening, we're asking for an additional appropriation in, medical supplies, about $10,000 in Fund 9203. An additional $5,000 appropriation in Fund 9203 for supplies. Is there any other the VIP FSSA, opioid funding program. This is Fund 9216. We are asking for additional appropriation for $45,622 in personal services, $3,778 in FICA Medicare, $8,800 in travel, vehicle insurance, $3,600, computer software hardware, $7,246, and motor vehicle, $22,000. That grant is a grant that actually started last year, was after the budget cycle, so it's basically asking the appropriation to continue.
So the salary of ordinance is already taken care of. Okay.
The additional appropriation for the school clinic grant, 1838, we're asking for $100,000 appropriation. And then the Ryan White grants for a transfer appropriation from contract services to $1,500 to equipment amount of $1,500. And then the salary ordinance, in our state sleep program, we had, it's in fund, the person that was in it was in fund 1159 and grant 8206, was a full-time position. I wanted to eliminate the full-time position, create a part-time position at $30 an hour. I'm hoping to get an LPN. Basically, what this person will do is when somebody discharged from the hospital, just have a, we're not gonna check on mom, make sure mom's doing okay. Do they have formula, do they have car seat, do they need bread, just making sure that you follow up with social services and it might be needed.
So there is a position on our salary ordinance now
For full-time, no one.
for full-time, so do we need to eliminate that position?
Or further eliminate it,
Is that 8234?
no, it's 8206 and 159, it's split between two different grants.
59. And, which one is this part-time gonna go into?
It's gonna go entirely into 8206.
Okay.
Is there more than one salary in the fund?
It's probably listed as a public health educator, maybe.
Okay.
Public health educator,
It's probably changing the whole program.
so that's what we need to eliminate then, the public health educator.
Disease. SUIV
Zero
prevention.
prevention, yeah.
Okay.
7 respective prevention.
I'll make a motion to approve the additional appropriation in 9203, appropriation in 9216, appropriation in 8238, the transfer of appropriation in 8234, eliminate the SUID prevention salary ordinance in 8206 and 1159, and add a part-time salary ordinance of $30 an hour in the SUID grant 8206.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Langford with a second from Councilperson Miller to approve the additional appropriations in 9203, 9216, 8238, the transfer in 8234, eliminate the SUID salary in 8206 and 1159, and approve the salary ordinance for part-time in the SUID grant at $30 per hour. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Doug.
Park County EMA, Gavin Hepner. Good evening.
Happy to be here. This is
Yes.
a grant, portion of this request. This will subject to the $1.4 billion of grant for position increase. excited about that. In front of you is additional appropriation request out of Fund 1000 for contract services in the amount of $3,700. And also an additional appropriation out of 1,000 for motor vehicles. Can we continue?
Yes, go ahead.
And the hazmat response fund 8239, that is an additional appropriation of $15,387 in equipment that's from a state homeland security grant from last year, completion grant. A additional appropriation for the hazardous materials emergency preparedness program and fund 8250 for training in the amount of $20,000. Allow us to conduct a full-scale exercise and a tabletop exercise pertaining to transportation hazmat. The next is an additional appropriation out of 8113 for motor vehicles for $2,757.57. This is a cash balance from my prior grant. And the next is the Duke Energy Foundation, additional appropriation for Fund 9217 for equipment for $2,750. This is for a purchase of a water rescue inflatable boat for the county fire department. And that is all I have.
A couple of these are these new grants, cause I didn't see them on the fund report, so I was wondering,
Yeah. So,
the 8250 and the 9217.
8250 is a new grant, and 9270 is a new grant. That's actually a check that we received from Duke Energy.
I have a question. In the additional appropriations in the county general rainy day, we have 3 claims for motor vehicles, all the same amount.
Yeah, so I submitted an additional appropriation request in the event that we needed to appropriate it out of an additional different fund.
I think he's looking for us to approve it out of one fund and to deny it out of the other two.
Okay.
Just whichever fund we think is most appropriate.
Very good.
That motor vehicle for 23,000, what was that for, was that a vehicle or?
So what I'm wanting to do is trade in a vehicle that we currently own. It is not heavy duty enough for the equipment that is for hauling around. Actually, another night we were going to respond to Memphis and bottomed out a couple of times, so too heavy. We have a slide out equipment in the back of that truck that we own currently. Want to trade it in. I think they had Bachman.
Who were you working on, what dealership were we, you had a dealership you're working with?
It was what we purchased it from, originally it was Bachman Chevrolet, and it was a trade-in amount of $29,000 is what they, and it's having some, approaching some transmission and engine problems.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I think lit would be most appropriate
That's what I was thinking.
and deny it out of county general rainy day.
I'll make a motion to, approve the additional appropriations for contract services for $3,700. Deny the 742.43 out of rainy day. Approve the 742.43 out of 1170. Approve 8239. Approve the additional appropriation for 8250. Approve the additional appropriation of 8113, and approve the additional appropriations for 9217.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Doherty, with a second from Councilperson Miller, to approve the additional appropriation request out of the general fund in the amount of $3,700 deny the request for $23,742.43 in the general fund. Deny the request for additional appropriation in the rainy day fund of $23,742.43. Approve the additional appropriation request in Fund 1170 of $23,742.43. Approve the request in 8239, 8250, 8113, and 9217. Everybody understand? So he has submitted one request 3 different times. We're denying 2 of those and approving 1. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Gavin, who are you working with? Are you doing the procurement of that vehicle by yourself? Do you, the county council is generally not involved in procurement of assets. So, I don't know if you have experience in that, but just wanna make sure you're going through either Scott Lewis, the commissioner's office, to make sure that that vehicle is put on the asset list so that it can be properly insured. So I don't know if you've done any of that yourself through EMA in the past, but.
I do, usually typically submit a purchase order for their approval, and they look at it, the dealership will get a QPA, price on it, and then it goes into, and it also funds, initially a grant funded vehicle, it has to go onto the state IHS, inventory list as well.
Okay. Very good.
Great.
Gavin, also want to thank you for the detailed email you sent out to all of us about the tornado event, and the information you're putting out through social media on Facebook is very informative. I've had several people reach out and say how great of a job you're doing, so keep it up.
I appreciate it. We were the first tornado in Indiana for 2024, so it's sparked some interest.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public defender.
Good evening, council
Good evening.
members. Nick Weber on behalf of the Public Defender's Office. I've got 2 appropriations in front of me tonight that deal with grant monies. We applied for a grant in cooperation with the probation department for pretrial services grant. The $15,000 amount is from the Office of Judicial Administration, the $57,000 amount is from the Department of Corrections. These funds are specifically approved to pay public defenders for their service appearing with defendants at their first appearance in front of the court before counsel is appointed. Because pretrial services is under the umbrella of the probation department, the grant money initially lands there and requires an additional transfer of the appropriation to be paid out for the purposes awarded for to pay the public defenders who actually do that work. So this reduction in the appropriation from the budget number ending in 369 and the corresponding increase to the budget number 040 will allow us to pay those grant funds to the attorneys that are doing those.
Understood. So there's no real money.
This is all grant money that's just being moved
Moved
from
from
under the
one-
probation umbrella to the public defender's office. And we did this last year, which I think was the first year these grants were awarded. I don't know if there's some way to change it to where it goes into the line item that we can pay this out of from its inception or not. I don't know if there's a way to streamline this so that we don't have to do this every time we are awarded these grants, but this has been the method of adjusting it so far.
I can't answer that one.
Mr. Weber, I just want to make sure I understand this process. Is there a way, when the budgets are adopted, to anticipate this?
That's sort of the something I was wondering about. It seems like there ought to be, but I do not claim enough expertise to know how to go about doing that to where this transfer would not be necessary. These grants are required to be applied for through the probation department, since the pretrial services department sits within the probation department, and so even though they're specifically applied for in cooperation and for the purpose of providing public defense, that's where they've been allocated when those grant funds have been received. I don't know if there's a way to change that to where this is unnecessary or not.
Typically, the grant writer through probation is the one that submits those budgets. There's a lot of people that are involved in all these grants, so it's kind of become a little bit of a cluster, and we are working on trying to streamline that. I did talk to Courtney and kind of give her some reminders and some dates to make sure that she reaches out to Danielle, that way we don't have to do this again next year.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the reduction and addition in 9142 and also in 9162.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Doherty and a second from Councilperson Bissing to approve the additional appropriation as well as the reduction in Fund 9142 in the amount of $15,000 and in Fund 9162 in the amount of $57,000. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you all very much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Clark County Courts, Tom Lau.
You've changed.
I was gonna say, no, that's how wow, it's changed. Changed very much so. You're right. Be on it. Good evening, everybody. I don't have one. Sorry. All right.
You want to tell the recording who you are? I know who you are, but
Judge Lisa Whipple for the Board of Judges. And Vicki Carmichael.
thank you.
All right, so, okay, so it looks like the first one we are looking at, is, the additional appropriation for adult guardianship. And it does look like there is an error on the form. It's supposed to be in, location 302. That's the one Debbie talked to you about, Jessica. Change it from 194 to 302. So, yeah, the adult guardianship, it's just the local match that comes out of that for the adult guardianship program. The adult guardianship program is grant funded through the state, but then there's always a local match, so very similar to CASA. And so this is the local match being requested.
And that doesn't, the advertising doesn't include that, okay. Others?
Oh, yes, sorry. So the next one is Vet Court, since I'm a supervising judge of Veterans Court in Clark County, this is what that is for. We had a $10,000 for contract services, and then we had additional funds where we wanted to move that around from personal services, perf and supplies, and reduce it in the other areas there. And then, same on the next page, move it to supplies, schools and conferences and contract services and reduce it out of those other items. And that's just moving the money around in the Veterans Court, as Jessica said earlier. Grants are a bit of a cluster. As we get these grant funds in and we think we know where all the money's supposed to go, and then their numbers aren't the same as local numbers, and so we have to move them around. So that's what that's
As
about.
opposed to a transfer, or do these have to be?
These are to get the grants in line with the grant toward budgets.
Right.
Okay.
And the next one on the list is, actually my impact court, the OBWI court. And it's the same situation. We received $90,633 in grants. And so we are asking to appropriate that money into the appropriate locations, through the county government. And then the salary ordinance, our impact court has grown. And, we are at the point where we need an additional case manager probation officer. We did get the funding for that. Again, all of this is from the grant, that we received from IOCS, in the Office of Court Services. And so, yes, we are asking for a salary ordinance for the case manager, and then a coordinator and the administrative supervisor. Those actually two positions, Those are positions we already have. However, these are additional duties, that these probation officers are performing for the problem-solving courts. And so this is compensation through the grant for those additional services that they are performing on behalf of the problem-solving courts.
And then it's the same for the health problem-solving courts, we've got 50,730, and so this is moving that money into the appropriate categories. And the same for the coordinator and the supervisor, those additional funds.
So it's just one person, one new person?
Yes, for the impact court, yes, we have one new and, hire.
What additional duties will the probation officers have with the court, or the grants?
Well, they attend staffing meetings, they do weekly visits with all participants. Right now, I think we have about 20 participants, so my coordinator does 20 individual meetings every week. Responsible for random drug screen, responsible for, reporting to the court, regarding the status of each individual, if they're in compliance, if they're not in compliance. If there is a violation, they are the individual that spearheads notifying the court that there's a violation, and they actually kind of draft up the information regarding what the violation would be.
In addition to the other.
And this is in addition to their, yes, their other regular job as a probation officer.
How is it, what you described sounds like what they do already as probation officers.
But this is a separate program. We meet weekly. These are not their regular probation participants or clients. These are participants that are in addition to their regular caseload that have been accepted and have entered into the problem-solving courts. So it's additional work on top of what they already have to do. And they do home visits as well.
What additional work is there for the supervisor?
The supervisor
Is that a probation officer supervisor?
It is.
What additional work is it on them?
They,
Attends staffing,
Yeah.
she attends staffing, she monitors the coordinators to make sure they're keeping up with the paperwork they have to do, and she monitors, in addition with, in conjunction with Danielle, who writes a lot of these grants, she works with Danielle to make sure all of the grant priorities are being met.
So is this outside of the scale, the probation officer scale?
It's an additional amount on top of their regular salary, similar to what we do with the probation supervisors. They
Still,
$5,000.
they're supervising 1 to 5 or
Right.
and
6
that's
to
why
10 or
we got that
whatever.
figure.
That's where we got that figure.
Because of the additional supervising
Right.
duties, we just went. and
So that puts them into the other category, you're telling me?
It puts them in a similar category as a probation supervisor. And then CCATs, Josh, I know you're here. CCATs, is it, I mean, you're asking for the same kind of thing, right? It's just the appropriations into the grant funds?
We are, and I can explain that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, hi, I'm Josh Siebold. Nice to see you all this evening. So, we had a couple of bills come in on the 9149 that because of when we were actually billed, they would be paid in January. Due to the fact that this grant transitions each year, with the county, that fund then becomes 9130 for the Clark County Addiction Treatment Support Program. So the county was gracious. We asked if we could pay these bills since they were billed to us and this money was technically spent last year. They approved that. So that would be the 9149, the request for additional appropriations, and all that's due to drug testing for business. So then the request for additional appropriations in 8891, that is an Indiana Office of Court Services grant that we received through the state of Indiana. And this is, the state was gracious and gave us more money than we had actually anticipated whenever we initially submitted the budget for 2024. So this is in addition to that appropriation. So.
50 employees from these two grants are being two separate departments, the time would have to be tracked separately. You wouldn't be able to use probation time for this other department time. It would have to be separate. It's kind of the same similar situation that we had before whenever we changed that job description from the other.
I mean, I would say that I believe that they do track their time, what they do for the problem solving court versus what they do for probation. I believe they do, but we'll make sure that, yeah, they certainly keep track of that separately. Yeah. Keep going.
I know there's a lot.
I mean, there's more, you want us to keep going?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so the part-time probation, through Jimmy Hayden, Jimmy's here, Mr. Hayden is here, also might be able to explain a little bit better. I would believe that is because of the new construction, for furniture and fixtures, and then he put it $15,000 for furniture and fixtures, and then an additional $5,000 for equipment, and.
Yes, I may.
Yeah. Come on up.
Jamie Hayden, Clark County Probation. You guys have given us extra money, for the new renovation of the 4th floor to pay for, furniture and fixtures up there. The probation department is self-funding all of the furniture and fixtures. We're also putting the bill for the employee break room up there, and the refrigerator, the tables, the chairs, the ice maker, all of that stuff. We ran out of money at the end of 2023 to be able to pay off all of these bills. That's why we're asking for this additional request. The other part is related to computers. We had a lot more computers go down than we anticipated. So it's to help to refund that.
Jessica, I think, it says fund number 2,000 on the agenda, but I think it should say 2,100. HUD fund was, I think, 2,100, not 2,000.
This says 2,000.
Hmm?
The request is for 2,000.
I don't think we have. Is there a fund number of 2,000 on the?
Admin fee. It's close to five.
Admin, it's not POP. Okay, perfect.
So it is right. Okay.
That's right.
Judge
Yeah.
Judge Carmichael, I'm trying to put all this together,
Yeah.
so. How many case managers are involved in this process where we have, $41,079 salary ordinance adjustment? Is this an additional case manager?
Yes, that's a new case
Yes, as a
manager.
new employee.
And I know a little bit about this, who drives the decision, and how do you justify an additional case manager? Tell me what is involved in that process.
It is based on, there are standards in the problem-solving courts for the maximum caseloads that each case manager is allowed to effectively handle. And Impact Court has now reached that maximum level, and there's still a great need in the community for more participation in the program. And so in order for us to be in compliance and for us to be able to receive grants and continue to be certification, we have to hire another individual to take some of the caseload away, and to build up caseload for the incoming participants.
So this caseload for these case managers fluctuates up and down?
Yes and no. I can't say that it does not fluctuate, but the programs are typically 1 year to 18 months. So it's kind of a rolling, when people are going out, we have people waiting to come in. So it's always going to be, like right now we have a wait list. We've not been able to enter anybody into the program for the last 3 months, because the current case manager is overloaded. I know just here in a couple of weeks, we're gonna add 3 additional participants. And so it's going to complete, or it's going to fill up very quickly. But with that, we've been running since September of 21. So some of those people now are coming, we will be graduating our first participant in, February, actually February 29th, we're all invited if you'd like to come. So as new people come in, other people very slowly will be rolling out. Hopefully all graduating.
So we get a grant and we add more case managers and we get help from the state to help pay for that. Then when the caseload changes, and let's assume that it goes down, shifted to another area or another department or another fund, do we go back and adjust these various funds to make,
Well,
to
I
account for
imagine,
those
yeah,
changes?
I would imagine that the grant's not gonna continue to pay for, individual, the information that's put into the grant. If we don't qualify for another individual, then we will not be receiving that grant funding for that additional person.
We have to justify each year
Yes.
the number of people that we have to tell them the number of people we think we're gonna bring into the program, and then we have to justify that by presenting reports quarterly, that says, here's how many we brought in this quarter, and then they will adjust our grants if we don't meet that threshold
I see.
for additional
So
employees.
the persons that award at the state level, persons that award these grants are going through these numbers and they're looking at your ratios and your, supply and demand, so to speak, right?
There's a lot of reporting.
I'm sorry?
There's a lot of reporting that we have to do to the state for all the problem solving courts.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
My question is, this is one new employee,
Yes.
Correct.
and then you're going to supplement another employee money because of hiring of that new employee.
Well, yes and no.
Yes,
I
yeah,
mean,
yes
yes.
and no.
I mean, the current case manager for impact court will now be supervising the new case manager, so that, yes, so that $5,000.
So for supervising that new employee will be a total of $5,000. And then the coordinator will get an additional $10,000. Am I reading that right?
2,500.
Those must be different pools.
Oh, the coordinator is 5. That's the current case manager, who's now gonna be supervising the new case manager. And then the administrator supervisor is a different person. That's a different person.
So, okay, so
See?
this is going to 3 different people.
Correct.
This,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because we were
That is
different.
now
Two are
it's,
existing, one new.
now it's quote, okay.
Right, yeah, it's not one person, it's we're trying to do something.
So the administrator supervisor for OWI court and mental health court is the same. So that supervisor is getting 5,000, 2,500 from mental health and 2,500 from
Okay, that's what I was
OWI.
thinking,
So
all
that's
right,
one person.
that's one
But
person.
then the coordinator probation officer for mental health is a different person than the coordinator probation officer for OWI.
But there's no new,
No new employee.
there's
for mental
still
health
one
court.
new employee.
Right, no new middle, no,
Right, for,
So a total of 15,000 is going to
current employees.
current employees, which is 2.
Correct.
One new,
No,
no, you're right, 3.
Three.
I got it, yep, okay. Anybody else?
Moving on down the sheet that I have, I guess this is mental health problem solving.
Yes.
Court. Additional appropriation, personal services.
Mhm.
What is that?
That, oh, so that's to pay the 7,500, the coordinator and the administrator supervisor. So we're moving those 2 salary ordinances, that's the 7,500 that we're asking for in personal
Just to pay those
services.
salary orders.
That's to pay those 2 salary ordinances, they're at the bottom of that list.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, got it.
And then same thing with that one above.
correct.
The personal services of 48,
right, those 3.
579 is the total of the 3 salary ordinances.
Right.
You see?
I see, that, I got it.
Yeah.
This is only Ron's second meeting.
Right.
So-
It is like my first. We're in this together.
Okay, that makes sense.
need to stop at this
Okay,
point
that's
and make, and not go on, and we'll come back
Okay.
to juvenile detention.
Okay.
So, if that's all right with everybody, I think we've got enough going here for the emotion. So, does anyone have a motion?
It was Tom Ladd, County General.
Yeah. Yeah. On that local match. General fund.
I'll make a motion for additional appropriation for the local match 1,000, Fund 8235, reduction of appropriation and additional appropriation in 8887, reduction of appropriation and additional appropriations in 9154, the additional appropriation 8230 and the salary ordinances for probation officers and supervisors, the additional appropriation in 9155 and the salary ordinance for probation and supervisors, and the additional appropriation in 9149, 8891, and 2000.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Ledford with a second from Councilperson Grooms to approve the additional appropriations in the general fund for local match in 8235, 8887, and the reductions in 8887. Additional appropriations and reductions in 9154. Additional appropriations in 8230 along with the salary ordinance. Additional appropriations in 9155 along with the salary ordinance. Additional appropriation in 9149, 8891, and 2000 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-1. Councilperson Ledford voting in opposition.
So I'm not entirely, my only opposition to that was the salary ordinances and those bumps. I'm not entirely convinced that those additional duties aren't any much greater than their regular duties in their regular 35-hour work week. Like, they may meet more often, but it's still in their 35-hour work week. It seems to be pretty much the same duties they're doing now. So whether that probation person that's on probation, what do you call those? Participants?
Participants or clients, we call the problem-solving court participants.
Yeah.
Probation clients.
So if that client is before them, it seems like they're mostly doing the same functions as a probation officer, whether it's just a regular client or if they're part of a grant, other than maybe some additional meetings. But it's still happening within the 34-hour work week.
And I can tell you, my case manager is here, and she would probably clarify some of that.
Jamie has his hand up, I know you
Actually,
can't.
Yeah, I apologize, Brian, I think I might be able to help you out a little bit with this. The difference with problem-solving court participants versus probation participants, problem-solving court participants, it's a cradle-to-grave deal. They get involved from the initial arrest, followed all the way through until the case is finished. With probation, they have to be adjudicated through the court. We get them after all of that, and then they come to us. So they have them a lot longer.
So they're doing things during the court trial?
Oh, absolutely.
Is that what you're
We're in the
saying?
pre-trial.
Yeah, is that what you're saying?
In the pre-trial.
Yeah, they're doing
involved-
things pre-trial, where the typical probation officer, that's a very good point, doesn't do anything until post-trial,
Post-conviction.
post-conviction, post-trial.
All right, thank you.
So does their hours worked per week go up and down within?
So I will say, like, for the Veterans Court, I can speak specifically to that. So the Veterans Court coordinator, case manager, and probably maybe for some of probation too, but I mean, she's on call 24/7. I mean, she sends me texts over the weekend, she sends me texts in the middle of the night, she's got a call from a participant, he's at the hospital, he's wherever. And so the problem-solving court is much more intense supervision, because it doesn't just happen between 8:30 and 2:00. I mean, they're doing drug tests in the evening, they're doing site visits, they're doing home visits, work visits, those kinds of things in hours other than 8:30 to 4:30, but they're still there 8:30 to 4:30 as well. So I mean, I think that's where, I think what we can ask our folks to do is to keep that law that Jessica was talking about, to make sure that we can show to you all that, yes, these are additional duties.
Yeah, because here's where it could get squirrely. If they're still within their 35-hour work week, and if they work 5 hours of the week in this grant,
Right.
they're now dropping below 30 hours.
That's actually, Judge Greenfield, I was hoping you'd come over here and read this, so that you know what kind of duties that need to be, whoever's going to be actually, you know.
We can do
the
that.
actual hours, but I want you to read this.
The motion is passed. We can do this
Yeah.
tomorrow, but it could get squirrely because when the county council sets salary ordinances based on that, the 35-hour work week when the county building's open. If they are now taking hours away from that 35 and it's going through this grant, they are now putting their base salary in jeopardy if they're not meeting the hourly requirements to receive that base salary. You understand what I'm saying? So that could get
Can we
squirrely.
request whenever we receive payroll, that way that we know that we're staying in compliance, that the clock in and clock out records, the separate records are also submitted with payroll? I mean, they'll be audited anyway and probably
They
requested
should
then.
absolutely be submitted to payroll, what's their time card, or if you will, on base salary versus grant hours work. So that's, I can see this, I can see that some issues arising there.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we can look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are you gonna do juvenile detention then?
Sure.
Okay, let's go, we just got, a little too many there.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, so juvenile detention, what I'm requesting is their salary ordinances be, adopted pursuant to the probation scale. I thought they always had been, that's my bad. They became probation officers in 2018, I believe, or 19, maybe before that. So
Lighter
what-
was before that.
Huh?
Lighter was before that.
Lighter was before, well, Lighter's been here forever. But they became probation officers, and part of that was because, the juvenile detention center is obviously open 24/7. Juvenile probation is open from 8:30 to 4:30. And so when kids get brought in after work hours or in the middle of the night, I needed an intake officer to do the intake. And the intake officer is a probation officer who has to be certified in the Indiana Risk Assessment for juveniles, for youth, the IS. And so Lyda became a probation officer to do that because she's the one that gets most of those calls. And then obviously when she's gone or on vacation, I had the other two, the assistant director and the admin, also become probation officers. So they've been probation officers, needing to be paid on the probation scale. The issue becomes that they also do their regular training and things like that with probation, and they submit those hours to Jamie, and Jamie certifies to the state that all of the probation officers have met their hours and that they're all paid according to scale. Well, these three are not, so now we need to bump that so that they're paid according to scale, to the probation scale, because it could jeopardize funding for grants and different things in the future if we're not in compliance with the state standards. So the total amount being requested is $10,000 for personal services and then a FICA per. So it's not a huge increase, but it's an increase for those three positions. So that's what that's. And then you want me to go on?
Yes.
Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative, this is a grant that we get through, for JDAI, we get another grant through the state, and this is for the, services there, and what part of this is, the personal services here is, a contract that we are working with a group called YAP, Youth Advocate Program, and YAP is going to be working, we met with the Jeffersonville Police Department, Chief Kavanaugh, and YAP is gonna be working with the police to go out on calls that the police get for disobedience, or Johnny won't give me his phone, or Susie won't go to school, and, you know, so they call the police, the parents call the police, and instead of the police bringing them down to the detention center, they're gonna call YAP and say, YAP, get out here, and YAP's gonna go out and work with the family and try to put services in place, so we don't have to bring these kids to the detention center. Because what was happening was the police would bring them to the detention center, and before the police could finish their report, the kid was going home. John, you know, you've seen it. I mean, you know, that's what was happening. And so because we can't hold kids on status offenses in detention. And so we're working with this group to put together this program. They already provide services for some of our kids that are on probation, but this is an additional service, and we got the grant funding for it through JBAI. And so that's what that is, and then food and supplies, travel, treatment, that's just kind of part of what is in the grant that we asked for juvenile detention alternatives. So that's what that is.
So is there a salary ordinance along with it?
No, it's contract, it's contract service.
Okay,
Yeah, it's contract
okay.
service, yeah. And then the, project income additional appropriation of.
I can
We know that one.
Chain.
I can do
Thank you. That's you.
They're gonna make me do it.
Come on, Lyda.
Who's gonna sit next?
Well, probably her.
Lina has been here forever.
So almost everyone knows that we had project income, but we don't have anything appropriated in that now. So we have this money, this cash.
Would you tell, for the sake of the new people, where does the money come from for project?
Our out-of-county referrals.
Thank you.
And it's a long story, but we used it all.
We used to have a lot of out-of-county people, when we could hold more, and now we can't hold that many.
Because we have so many Clark County kids.
I'm trying.
So anyway.
Referrals from other counties.
Yes.
They don't have.
Juveniles from other counties that don't have juvenile detention facilities, so we house them here in Clark County and they pay us a per diem.
And we used the money for salaries mostly, and we knew it would dwindle quickly, and it did. And then, 2 years ago, it dwindled even more quickly, and so we are in the county general budget now, but we have this extra money, and the one thing that I was going to do before the end of last year that we didn't have enough money for, and I didn't want to use the extra money you guys had given us for rainy day or whatever, we were in the process of upgrading our camera system, because it kept shutting down. Well, now I'm short 2 cameras, because they're down, and I've got this money. We actually have 45,000, but it's 36,986 to finish upgrading the whole system. So we have that money, but it's not appropriated. So that's what you all should have the current invoice or whatever it's called. Purchase order, I don't know what it is, but it's it was from last November that I got it updated at the first of the year. So that's just our extra, and then we'll have a little extra. They need cameras.
That sounds
My lobby camera's out.
Lyda, how do other juvenile detention facilities in Indiana handle intake when it's out after hours?
I think they all do it differently. They have probation officers. Jennifer, do you know exactly? They're only.
Are you talking about
counties
with
3 or
facilities
4
or without?
See, that's part of the problem. There are counties with facilities and without. If they have, are there 12 now?
I'm not sure, but every county has to have a probation officer approve any arrest that gets detained.
You have to have a probation officer do it.
Right, yeah. That's what I'm just wondering.
But like Marion County, I haven't been there in quite a while, but Marion County has a whole separate intake area that they do the intakes, and then they have a detention facility. So they have it staffed 24/7 with probation officers, and that's what Bartholomew does too, don't they?
Bartholomew does.
I'm trying to think.
Several counties that don't have facilities have intake centers where the probation officers have to be on call and go
And have
straight
to
into the
come
intake center.
in and do the intakes. So to be perfectly honest, I haven't been to Lake County, I haven't been to Marion County in 5 or 6 years.
The reason I asked is because I didn't understand why now that makes a little more sense that you guys are trained and certified with a probation officer, so you need to do the intake process after hours. But, so I didn't understand until now, but I was calling, I opened up, the juvenile detention website for Indiana Day, and I just started calling all of the counties' juvenile detention places today. And every single one, I could get a hold of someone that, every single one of them said they do not pay their administrators, director, assistant director, whatever, on the state probation officer pay scale.
But they pay on more, actually, most of them get paid more.
But they hire
the two
probation
lowest paid,
officers.
we can
Yeah.
get into that,
So-
but I don't.
Yeah, no, I was told by someone,
I don't wanna
Allison
do
Cox,
that.
I was told by someone, Allison Cox at Porter is like the head director of, and I left her a voicemail. She didn't get back to me yet, because I was told she has like a database, if you will, of all juvenile detention employees.
Oh, I can email you that. We get that. I mean, I can email it to you.
The one that she put together, or?
Yeah.
I
I probably could forward it.
Could probably get it right
Uh,
now.
I mean, Allison is a probation officer.
Allison is a
Yeah, so I was told by one of these other counties I talked to that Porter County, where she is, they do pay theirs on the probation scale, but, so I called her, obviously, left her voicemail, but every other county I talked to, they don't, so
Yeah, I'd be
we got
happy
this
for you
late
to
Friday,
see
so
that.
I definitely wanted to spend more time looking at this, so it gave me today. So I was calling like crazy today and got a lot of voicemails, but, because I was trying to understand. And then I called Judge Glickfield today, and she was on the bench, so I didn't.
And we could go by Porter County's scale.
Yeah.
We're happy to go to submit that.
If we could, yeah.
About 10 more months and I'll take it.
Yeah, I don't know what their county budget is, but I'm assuming it's
Probably a lot more than.
a lot more than our county.
I just want to help you out, maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I do need my cameras. Yeah.
I will make a motion right now to approve additional appropriations and, well, wait, is it 9217 or 9217?
It's 9127. You had 9217 paperwork. I think it's 9127.
That's going to be a PO.
Make
Oh,
that.
yeah. What is
We're
your
a little
budget?
average now.
9127.
9127 or 90?
That's for the,
217.
9217 is JDA.
I'll make a motion right now to make, approve additional appropriation 9127 and 4915. Hang on.
Yeah, it was 9127.
It's 9127.
Yeah, make a motion to approve additional appropriations in 9127 and 4915.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Lanford and a second from Councilperson Doherty to approve the additional appropriations in 9127 and 4915. Is that correct?
Is 9217 just a typo?
Yes.
Okay, all right, sorry.
That's what we were
So it's supposed to be
discussing.
9127, okay.
It's supposed to be 9127. Okay. Yes, okay. Any further discussion? That's just the 9127, which on our sheet is 9217, and 4915 is the motion right now. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. You got your cameras at least. Okay, now we have County General for the personal services, FICA, Medicare, and the salary ordinance. And this will substitute what's already on. These are not new positions. These are changing the salaries of what's already on there. This is the request. Just for those that haven't been here as long. So do we have a motion on that one?
sorry, would you repeat that?
We're considering the appropriation in county general to change 3 positions, to put those 3 positions in juvenile detention county general, the director, assistant director, and administrative assistant, and put those 3 positions on the state probation officer pay scale.
Which is something we follow for all probation officers employed in Clark County. We follow the state regulations for what they're paid and it's a whole scale. We'll have to get one for you, Ron, so that you understand that we go by that.
It's one of those mandates from the state that tells you what local governments have to.
And what's the total?
The total would be, additional is gonna be in salaries, the 10,385.87, and then the corresponding FICA Medicare is just under 800, and the PERF is just over 1,300. So the increase in salaries for those 3 people is a total of $10,385. Now, I can't tell you how much goes to each one.
That's good.
It's a little bit, it's like 3 something for everybody.
It's about even?
Yeah.
Okay, so. And that is general fund money.
Okay.
Does anybody wanna offer a motion?
I'll make a motion for additional appropriation of Fund 1,000 for personnel services, $10,385.87. FICA Medicare, $794.51, PERF, $13.19. And the salary ordinance probation officer supervisor director for $67,448. Probation officer assistant director for $58,663. And probation officer admin for $58,663.
Second. I have a motion from Councilperson Miller with a second from Councilperson Bissing to approve the additional appropriation request in juvenile detention as listed and the salary ordinance as described. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
So just to be clear, these 3 positions require a degree. You have to have a degree, right, to be a probation officer. So these 3 positions require a degree. All 3 current holders have degrees.
And we all passed the probation officer exam a long time ago.
And went to that terrible orientation.
What's that?
He said, went to that terrible orientation, a very long time, the last orientation.
And next month we'll be here with the scale for Porter County.
And bring their county budget with you.
I might forget. You can go back to your seat now. I need my camera.
That's already passed, that's already,
Are you sure?
the cameras are passed. You've already got that.
Yes, ma'am.
In these positions, is there a experience requirement, any kind of?
Not necessarily, I mean, a starting probation officer would just have a degree. Now, these 3 obviously have years of experience in juvenile detention, so.
These people have been.
Yeah, they're forever. The salaries are based on years of experience. Yeah, they're based on their years, of experience, so the salary
was
schedule.
based on that.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's where I was going.
Yeah,
the
sorry,
scale,
yes.
the scale from the state is based on that, yes.
Yeah. Tell you what you gotta do.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, are you doing community corrections, or is Glad doing it, or are you teaming this?
Whatever they want to do. We're tag teaming everything. We're glad we're doing it too. I think this was just a couple of employees that were missed when we did the salary budget, and this is just to get them up to, the corporate reported budget, yeah, the equal budget that we passed for all of our employees.
Oh, 52,000, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there was missing zeros.
Yeah, I figured that was a missing zero.
So that is not a community corrections project income.
These are not new positions?
No.
just putting them on the same scale as the court reporters and the probation admin that we did last month, I think. I think it was last month, 2 months ago. And that would just put them at that same scale because they're part of the same program. And this is,
And that is a typo for the administrative assistant, that should be 52,000. There's a zero missing from that on our sheet. Correct?
yes. And then Glad said the Justice Partners eviction, she's asking me to table.
We're in conversation with, Indiana Office of Court.
On the transfer?
The entire, what's remaining.
Mhm.
So, yep, all that's
On that
covered.
transfer, you're withdrawing that, okay? And then do you have anything else? Oh, all of that, okay. There's 3 sections, that's what, all withdrawn. Got it. So,
Withdraw or table?
Well, if all of the amounts and everything are gonna change, do we just need to withdraw it and submit new? Okay.
well, it doesn't really matter, cause it's a transfer, it doesn't need to be advertised or anything, correct? So,
Well, there will be a series of changes.
yeah, it's just as easy
It's
to
all
withdraw.
together.
It's easier if we don't have to advertise it, just to withdraw it.
These 2 transfers are withdrawn?
All 3, they've got 3 transfers there, so all 3 of those are withdrawn. So all they're asking for is the salary ordinance of the supervision officer, admin, and the admin assistant. And that's to put them in line with all of the others in that category that we did in December. And this section was missed.
I think what makes this, sometimes confusing is that in this situation, when you pick this sheet up and you look at this, and you have these $2 amounts and it says salary ordinance, you assume that that's a new position.
Right.
Or it hasn't appeared before, but now we know that it has appeared before, and it's more of a bookkeeping, is that what you're telling us?
Right.
Well, it's an increase.
And
It's a raise, it's a raise.
People are still there, the salary's still there, but these.
They were missed.
Yeah.
They were missed.
The increase in their salary was missed.
I got it,
But yeah, it's not new people, not new employees.
okay.
It was, I don't know if you can say it was missed.
They received 3% of the.
Yeah,
So they
weren't
included-
submitted as court employees.
They were submitted with probation and community correction, yeah, they would have been submitted, yeah. They should have been submitted the same.
Everything was
With
submitted
the
and
state
then I was out
employee, or
with
the
COVID,
court employees?
So there was a lot of confusion following that week. So. You're just trying to.
Equal.
Correct.
It was, okay, say that again, it was submitted and denied, or just, when it was submitted, it was left
These
off?
particular ones were sent in, well, all of my stuff was sent in following the December meeting, before the 22nd.
Right. So
But
when
my
we did
stamped
that, yeah.
copy, when I was told that they only got 3%, said, okay, well, we're gonna go with the 3%. And then I learned that probation received theirs, and so this is to make sure that they are in line with where they need to go, and then I will work on the back page portion.
Because these are probation officers?
So, no, they're not probation officers, they're admin, like court
Okay,
reporters,
yeah,
like the
with
admin
the
and
court
probation.
report.
But probation and
Yes.
community corrections is one department, it's one department, so. They're
So they should have been, yeah,
They should have been included.
when, yeah. Probation was.
When it was submitted, they
Yeah.
were omitted.
Yes.
So we have,
So, but it is out of project income, not our grant fund, so.
which is
Those
not
are paid out of anyway.
That's what it's.
property tax money, in other words. discussions or a motion?
The motion then would be to improve the 47,000 and the 52,000 in the salary ordinance under Clark County Community Corrections, correct?
Correct.
And what about the Justice Partners, is it transfer?
That's withdrawn.
Withdraw.
Yeah, they-
The motion then is to approve
Yeah, the
under
only
salary,
thing,
under salary ordinance,
yes,
$47,000 plus $52,000,
yes.
to be taken from the salary ordinance or be added to the salary ordinance. Correct?
Second.
Was that a motion?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And Steve, you?
No, Miller.
John, thank you. I have a motion by Councilperson Grooms with a second from Councilperson Miller to approve a salary ordinance in Clark County Community Corrections for a supervision officer admin at 47 and an admin assistant at 52,000. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. The only thing left is, oh, you have more?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You had additions. Okay, thank you. Turn a couple pages, folks. Go to the last page. Where it says tabled, and then amendments, that's where we are now. So again, Tom Loud.
You can be Tom. Can I be Tom this time? Okay. So this request, the first request, maybe it's the amendment, is to, create 2 temporary positions. And one is, specifically for Clerk Circuit 4. My chief court reporter retired, and in order to, move somebody into that position, under that salary ordinance, I need a temporary position created, because the person that retired won't get paid out until April 25th. And so I'm asking for a temporary position. I would like it effective today. Today's the first day of a payroll, so I'd like it effective today and expire on April 25th. And then the second position is for our financial administrator, who is retiring at the end of February. And that start date, effective start date for her temporary position would be March the 4th. Same end date for that temporary position, April 25th, because she'll be on the payroll through April 25th. So again, just temporary positions so that we can fill those positions and not leave me with 2 court reporters instead of 5. And not leave us without a financial administrator.
So let me repeat the dates. On the chief court reporter, 2/12 to 4/25.
Correct.
And financial administrator, 3/4 to 4/25.
Correct.
Okay. Just so I have it straight.
Yes.
And is there a way, if this gets approved, to make sure it goes off, is my concern. You got that? Or we just put it in the motion, I guess?
Yeah, I think it just, I mean, that's what you've done in the past. I mean, we've had this situation in the past where you've created it and then it just automatically expires on the date that they get paid off. And actually, the financial administrator may get paid off early. If she takes any more time between now and then, it could be a little bit less than that, but we would come back and let you know.
So are these is this the base pay for
So the
those
chief-
positions?
Yeah, so the chief court reporter, that's the 52,000.
It's only based for code reporters.
Right, we don't have longevity.
That's true.
I mean, it's okay, that's what we're having that conversation.
Let's not go there tonight.
You're taking up way too much of their time. Sorry. Okay, and then the financial financial administrator gets paid out of, Superior 5, Superior 6, the circuit courts and ADR. So
Okay, that makes, I'm
that's where
saying,
those
that's
4
a
come
strange
from. Yeah.
number for the salary ordinance.
Yeah,
With the cents on it.
Right.
That's really,
Right.
I see. So that's all
financial administrator gets it paid out of 4 different funds. That's why that's like that.
This year.
This year.
And next.
This year. And next year it'll be just ADR and the courts, yeah.
Does everybody understand that? We have a motion or questions?
Would you explain to me again, on this sheet that I have, salary order, 375 Superior 5, understand that, Superior 6, $1,300. And say that, tell me again what that is.
So, the way that, when Superior 5 and Superior 6 were created, we had a financial administrator for the circuit courts.
Right.
When they were created, we had our court administrator and our financial administrator also do their courts.
Okay.
And so we had an increase for our court administrator and our financial administrator. So that portion, that 1,300 is paid out of their budgets, because Superior 5 and 6 have different budgets. And then the other odd amount is that ADR amount, which is $1,390. And that amount is, so ADR is Alternative Dispute Resolution, and so our county has adopted the Alternative Dispute Resolution Fund, and so there's an extra $25 paid on filing fees for divorces and paternity and something else. There's 3, but anyway, and so that is, guardianship, yeah. And so the ADR coordinator, then any of those folks who filed that, pro se, meaning without an attorney, go through mediation, or through a guardian ad litem, or through, something along those lines, parenting time coordinator. So our ADR fund pays for that, and so the extra duties for that are paid by the ADR.
Okay, thanks, Judge. So, in County General, we have salary ordinance 302, all courts, and we have the 52 and 48. And that court reporter and that financial administrator will work basically for all of the courts.
The chief court reporter is just in Circuit 4.
Just in Circuit 4?
Yeah, each of us have a chief court reporter. Each court has a chief court reporter at 52.
So court reporter and financial administrator is only for?
Financial administrators for all.
All of them.
Financial administrators all, but the court reporter is just one.
The one that's open
And
right now.
that's for 4?
Yes,
Court 4?
yes.
Okay.
All 4 courts use the same location in 302 all courts.
Yeah.
The what?
The
The
4.
4 courts use the same location,
Right.
302. Superior 5 and 6 have a different.
And that's because those judges were not elected, they were appointed. But as soon as they're elected, then it will be all courts. We'll get rid of those other 2. And it won't be quite as
Hopefully not quite as
confusing. Do we have a motion?
I move that the salary ordinance 302, all courts be approved for a chief court reporter at $52,000 and financial administrator at $48,121.42. That also be approved with the county general salary ordinance for Superior 5, salary ordinance for Superior 6, and that would be,
The ADR.
and the ADR.
And then do you mind putting in there the dates?
You know, that would be,
That will
I've got
include the
from
dates.
2/12/2024 to 4/25/2024.
And then the other one is 3/4/2024 to 4/25. Do we have a
Yes.
second?
I'm sorry.
I said, do we have a second?
Second.
motion from Councilperson Grooms and a second from Councilperson Miller to approve the salary ordinance for chief court reporter and 302 at $52,000 to be effective from February 12th through April 25th of 2024. Financial administrator in all courts, Superior 5, Superior 6, and ADR to be effective from March 4 to April 25th, 2024. In the combined total of 52, is it? Or as listed. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, we didn't do. Jury coordinator, that's it.
Yeah, that is one that we are still, working on, so we've asked to table that.
Okay. Someone wanna make that motion?
Make a motion to table the salary ordinance for the jury court.
Second.
The jury court.
I have a motion by Councilperson Doherty with a second from Councilperson Miller to table the request for a salary ordinance for court reporters. Jury coordinator, sorry. I had it written. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you all very much. Taking enough of your time.
Let's go ahead and do Ryan Lynch, it's waiting patiently.
I'll just say Ryan has to go.
Good evening. Good evening. Ryan Lynch, the Clark County Clerk. Basically, I'm just asking for additional appropriations for the new fund, grant fund that we just got applied for a grant with the Secretary of State's office last year and got approved for a little over $23,000 for different things that are election related, and now we just want to purchase things over here. We were approved for.
I'll make a motion to approve out of 8251 for the 7950 to 728442 and 8,000.
Second.
Motion by Councilperson Doherty with a second from Councilperson Miller to approve the additional appropriations in 8251 as listed. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
And then. Yeah, that's. Billy Scott, Johnny's here for Billy, okay. Yes, yes.
Last but not least.
Okay.
I was here, approving the vehicle. During the time it was approved, and that vehicle, the time frame, so that we get a vehicle order.
Again.
Reappropriate for this calendar year.
Right.
The car, it has been ordered, 8 to 12 weeks for our kid coming in, so.
Okay.
Motion to approve additional appropriation of 1191 for motor vehicles, 40,000.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Miller with a second from Councilperson Bissing to approve the additional appropriation in 1191, which is Riverboat. It has been previously appropriated another year. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Billy.
Jessica, have we done everything? Amendments, reports, any other reports and comments? Did you find them, Max?
Oh, I was gonna give it the IC codes, because at the end of the day, we need someone's salary to base it off of. And basically what it comes down to is it's 90% of the prosecuting attorneys, which is 100% of the circuit court judges, which is, I don't know how to find any of those salaries.
Well, just give her the form, yeah.
But I can give you all this, and it's not very hard to find from there.
Okay, thank you.
It's based on percentages of,
So we can actually give them more, but there's a maximum salary as well, and I've included that one. And then I've given you also what the prosecuting salary is based on.
Okay, great, thank you.
And my card again.
Thank you.
are there any other reports? Any other public comments? Attorney comments?
Yeah, I can give you an
I'm
update.
gonna shut this down.
The levy thing. So, a few of us have, well, with Baker Tilly, a financial advising firm, and they submitted their proposals to provide us financial consulting work for going through the DLGF budgeting process for the levy and all that.
The things that we've had
The
Jackie.
thing that we've had Jackie for the last several years. And they provided us a quote for an hourly rate, and they listed all their scope of work that they would do. And in the proposal, it says not to exceed a certain dollar amount. Well, that was the amount we were paying Jackie. So with the very worst case scenario, we'll be paying the same amount as Jackie. And most likely we'll be seeing quite a bit of savings there. And I've called around, and there's quite a few counties and municipalities that use Baker Tilly. And I'm excited for their services, for sure.
And then the call before that on the levy was just reviewing.
Yeah, that wasn't as exciting as I was hoping it would.
Yeah, it was.
They just went over, it was our district representative with the DLGF. They just went over some funds, you set the levy, it kind of, with the previous year's levy times the growth quotient, which is like 4% or whatever it usually is. Some funds, the levy is based on what the bond payment is. So they only just kind of let you raise enough to make the bond payment, which is appropriate. And then others are rate driven, like Cume Bridge or Cume Cap, where the commissioners establish a levy rate, let's say 5 cents. And then, so whatever the net assessed value is, how much that levy will collect. So there's kind of 3 different ways a levy is established. Was it very exciting?
Mr. Langford, will we be assigned a particular team, person, crew? You would say yes?
From Baker Tilly. Paige is kind of who heads that department for Baker Tilly, and I would assume yes, we'll be assigned a district representative, yeah. Or someone that comes down. They probably have, I would assume they have geographical areas where one person with Baker Tilly covers this area of the state. So they're familiar with the players in the markets, net assessed value, trends, assessment trends, payroll trends.
Do you know of any other like-sized counties that use them? Or are there other counties in southern Indiana that use